Using words incorrectly. Don't! While it's a good idea to avoid always using the same words over and over and trying to mix them up when it comes to your personal vocabulary, it's an even better practice to use the words correctly. To say nothing about using words that don't really exist, such as irregardless, or to use them with the right pronunciation. For instance, the T in often technically is meant to be silent. Instead, this week's blurb is going to focus specifically on real words being given the wrong application. Now, there is no easy way to go over every word that ends up used incorrectly, but once again, this blurb is only meant to serve as a window or a reminder to stay vigilant and be a little more aware. So does this issue really make a big difference? I mean, through context alone, we typically know what people are saying, and surely I wouldn't suggest nitpicking at others, but I think it actually does matter, at least from your own point of view. You see, by using a word to describe something that it doesn't apply to, the effectiveness of your description or explanation becomes diluted. You'll just be that little bit less understood, rather than sharply communicating what it is you're trying to say. By then, during moments when we do end up using those same words correctly, they too become diluted by your own parlance. The words just become vague and meaningless, and they get sprinkled about as we talk as a way to fill in verbal gaps. The character Inigo Montoya illustrates this in 1987's The Princess Bride, when he's calling out Vizzini's use of the word inconceivable. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. But let's play with some of our own examples. I've picked out 5 of the most common misused words I tend to run into during conversations with folks. We'll start with the word random. Many people apply this word to describe something odd, unusual, funny, or uncommon. However, it really just means a lack of predictability or pattern. That definition can be true without the aforementioned incorrect applications. Then there's sarcasm. I've heard this word used as an accepted synonym for humor. Sarcasm is sometimes, but not always, intended to be comedic. Actually, I've met people who claim to love sarcasm, be fluent in sarcasm, and then, faced with the ridiculing edges of actual sarcasm, they turn around and mistake it all for rudeness. Okay, I've had some rough first dates. Give me a break. How about the word literally? Now, this one pops up a lot. Literally is often used as a support for hyperbole to describe something outrageous but untrue. The reality is, literally is meant to describe something that has happened. The real word they'd be looking for is figurative, although admittingly that lacks the punch of the improper use of literally. The birthday cake was so rich you literally had a coronary? No, you didn't. Then there's ironic. Some people get mixed up with this one. Comedian Ed Burns summed it up best when he cited that the only thing ironic about Canadian artist Alanis Morissette's hit track Ironic is that despite her attempts, she failed to provide any examples of actual irony. He went on to explain that the line, "It's like rain on your wedding day," was a mere simile and would only be ironic if the bride was marrying a weatherman and he chose the date. Factoid. I think this word gets used because it has a presumed associated nomenclature. Fact and asteroid. That must mean a piece of factual information at first glance. But really it means an invented statement or presumed information that has dressed up as factual. That's kind of a weird one, isn't it? Why do people end up doing this stuff? Well, we kind of touched on that with some of the words we've gone over. And so I think the most common reason is that words can be associated so frequently with different applications, such as with random, often getting saddled with humor or uncommon situations. But it's just that randomness doesn't have to be those other things. Beyond that, who knows? I would think it has to do with the very thing that these blurbs are meant to work against, a simple lack of awareness. I don't believe people do this because they're stupid, and there's no use coming down on anyone when you hear a misuse of the word. Remember, after all, this is all about us, not them.